We are back with another episode of the Coaching with Impact podcast, the go-to podcast for female coaches ready to elevate their online presence and amplify their impact. So I have here Louisa, and I'm really excited because she is a leadership coach, facilitator, and founder of Admin Virtuosa. I don't know how to say your last name. Can you kind of just say it, Louisa Thiessen or Thiessen? Oh, I got it right. Okay. Yeah, so I'm joined by Louisa Thiessen. We're going to have a really fun conversation today. We're here to talk about not taking cookie cutter business models that dominate the coaching world these days. Everybody's kind of copying each other. And we're really going to tap into that. But in this episode, we really explore what it really looks like to build a business that reflects your values, your strengths, your vision, and not just what's trending. So I'm really excited to dive deep into this. So if you're craving a more intuitive, aligned approach to your business and one that feels that's built for you, you're going to want to tune into this one. So welcome, Louisa. Glad to have you join us.
Thanks for having me. I'm truly honored to be here. So I'm Louisa Thiessen. I am a strategic business growth consultant. And as Fifa said, I am the owner and founder of Admin Virtuosa. I have been working in operations for a little over 18 years. So I started my career really, really young. And I always had a desire to help people. That's always been my passion. And I've always just geeked out on administrative stuff. So I started off as an operations assistant and kind of climbed the ladder from there. And I founded my own business. A little bit about my business story. It was an accidental startup, to be honest. So I have a 6 and 8-year-old kid now. When I started my business, my kids were 1.5 and 3, and I was a stay-at-home mom. And honestly, I was burned out. I was depressed, and I remember telling my husband, I'm like, I'm going back to work. I can't do this. And then I looked at daycare pricing, and I was like, no, I'm not. So when I finally had the time to kind of sit back and think about what do I want? What do I love? What lights me up? It came down to 2 things. I absolutely love helping people, and I'm really good at administrative stuff and operations management. I went to school, got a degree in business management. So I decided that I would keep it simple and just post on Facebook. Like, hey, I'm offering admin support. If anyone needs anything, just let me know. And I landed 3 clients from there. And it was like, oh, I've got 3 clients. Well, I'm going to have to pay taxes. So I need to start a business. And so it was a quick Google, how do I start a business in Canada? Because I'm American. I'm from New York. And it was rather easy. It was pretty easy. Started my business, and that's how it birthed. And it got me out of the funk. I healed mentally. I was so ecstatic to be able to do something for myself and also still care for my kids. So that's a bit of my story.
How you just dove into it after all of this, first the daycare pricing, you're like, oh, okay.
It's bizarre, Fifa. It's crazy.
But I love how you just and you came from New York, right? So you came from there, you took risks. I can tell from the way you move, you're a higher risk taker than most people.
Yes, I could confirm. I didn't get to where I am now without taking risk, and even working in corporate. I started in an architect office at the age of 19, and executive assistant quit within a year, and then my boss went into preterm labor, so I had to step in. So there was no it was either step in or get out. So I'm diving in, and I've always been a risk taker, someone to kind of look at the rules and question them and bend them if needed. Actually, no, I don't like to, I should take that back. I don't like to bend the rules. I like to question it. If there's a rule, I need to know why, and I'll play around with it. So yes, definitely a risk taker.
Love that, because I'm very much the same way.
Well, as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to be. I have not met an entrepreneur yet who has not taken a risk, because we can stay in corporate and keep it safe, but we don't want that.
Exactly. Sometimes I tend to take a little bit of reckless decisions, but Yeah, that's a story for another day. But yeah, I can see like you are very much a risk taker. I love how you just birthed this business and you just put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you built your business this way since then, right? And it's been how many years now?
It's been over 4 years, like 4.5. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. All right. So, I mean, I know you talk a lot about cookie cutter approaches. So I'm really curious to know why you've decided to kind of focus a lot of your attention on this and why this is so important, why businesses should not be following so many cookie cutter approaches. Like, I love your take on this.
Yeah, that is a loaded question. And cookie cutter approaches actually they set me off. So when I started my business, the first year was like great. Everything was great. I started off with clients, everything was good. And then I fell into the trap of looking at all the things and looking at these people, coaches that said get to 6 or 7 figure business by doing this. So by year 2, I was chasing all this. And I hit a wall. And I had to go back to the drawing board and realize, my business is growing, yes. Excuse me. So, yeah, my business is growing, but I'm reaching the burnout again. I'm reaching the place where I was when I decided to start this business. So, I decided that it wasn't fulfilling. And I had the advantage because, like I said, I studied business management. So, I have different tools to help me grow my business. And what I was doing, I was fact checking these coaches and realizing that what worked for them doesn't necessarily work for everyone. And as a strategic business consultant, well, growth consultant, you have to be able to look at the business as a whole and the person as a whole. And if you're not doing that, then you are setting up these people for failure. So one of the cookie cutter approaches that I see that I mentioned before is like, do this and you get to 6 or 7 figures. So you have people who have this blueprint that worked for them. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this works. This is great. I have to go and preach to the world and let people know. But again, what works for one person doesn't work for the other person. I once hired a coach to help me get to the next level because that's what I felt I needed to do. Well, what I realized with this coach, like we made it to the end of our coaching agreement, and he was drilling in my brain that I had limiting beliefs because he was telling me that I had to be on the go pretty much 12 hours a day. Like, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to be networking, you need to be on your phone, you need to do all this stuff. And I told him, I'm like, I can't do that. And he said, well, you can. That's a limiting belief. And then as he said that, I was like, no, actually, it's not a limiting belief. If I wanted to, I could, but the price I have to pay to do that is not something I'm willing to pay. And that price was my kids. I wasn't willing to sacrifice time with my kids. I wasn't willing to sacrifice time with my husband. And that's when I realized that these cookie cutter approaches could be detrimental to someone's life, not just their business. And if you don't have the risk-taking ability and the tenacity to question set of rules, you fall into these traps, and it breaks my heart. It makes me so angry. So I'm like on a mission to just be like, look, these are the red flags. Just because so and so is a millionaire, so they say, doesn't mean that what they did is going to work for you. And you have to be able to redefine success on your own terms. Like for me, success looked like going on a Disney cruise with my family last week, right? For others, success means being a millionaire, and that's okay. But we have to dig deep into what it is that you want for your business and the life you want to build, and then build accordingly. If not, you're just gonna burn out.
I love how you mentioned that because I truly resonate with it. I've hired so many coaches. Like I've lost count of how many coaches I've worked with. But there's always something that maybe I don't agree with, or there's something that I feel like if I can't do it, I'm really behind, or I feel like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do what they're telling me to do? And kind of like how I mentioned before, where I can be a bit reckless sometimes, and sometimes I don't like to follow rules. And I thought to myself, oh, is it because of the way I am as a person? Like, I don't like following rules. Like, somebody telling me what to do, like, I automatically don't really want to do it. So I question that. And I love how you brought this up, because one of the coaches that I've worked with, like, she told me her approach as well, and I didn't realize that the type of personality that you have, also if you're into human design, the type of human design that you are, you work differently. The way that you make decisions is very different based on your own personality and the way that you manifest things. It's different for everybody. So I love that you mentioned that, because I realize I'm a projector. As somebody who is a projector, I can't really keep up. I have such limited energy. And for her, this coach that I'm hiring, she's the complete opposite. She's a manifesting generator. So if she's telling me to do this, and I don't feel like I can keep up with it, it's okay to feel like, what they're saying it might be true for them, but for you, it might not be the right approach, right? And you kind of just have to take everything with a grain of salt and choose the type of coach that you want to work with accordingly based on that information, right?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you mentioned the human design, because I worked with a coach. I was her operations manager for a bit, and she's a manifesting generator. I'm a generator. So she's a coach and she's giving people advice, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is not okay. With my approach, I look into that as well. And even in my intake form, I'm asking, is there anything about your personality you should know? Are there any learning disabilities? Like, if you have ADHD, there's things that are not going to work for you. Like, sorry to say. So you have to have as much information about your clients before coaching them and telling them, like, do this and it's going to work, because it doesn't. Like, and then for me, I'm a thinker. So, like I said, I take risks, but I'm not like quick start. I'm like, okay, I'm going to process this, and everything has to make sense for me to do it. If not, I'm not going to do it. And this is why I don't do very good with high pressure sales tactics. That was something else I was coached on. You need to be doing this, like, get them on the phone, do that. And I'm like, that doesn't feel right for me. And I literally tell my clients, I will send you a proposal. You have a week or week and a half. Make an informed decision. Do not impulse buy, because you might regret it, right? And a lot of people are just like, you shouldn't do that because you need to get them on the spot. But that goes against my values and what I want, right? So, like you said, you have to look at the person as a whole. And there's so many different personality tests. There's so many different illnesses, mental illnesses as well. That's a big one, because if you have triggers, anxiety and stuff, there's some things that you can't do. Well, you can, but you shouldn't, because it puts you at risk, right? And then there's neurodivergence, right? So it's all these things that we have to keep in mind, that I find that people who are selling these cookie cutter approaches are not even keeping into consideration. And a lot of them, honestly, Fifa, they know nothing about personality types. That's the crazy part. It's like, how are you coaching people and you don't understand human design? Not even just that test, but like personality types, enneagrams, Colby, all these different things that you should be assessing your clients before you give them advice.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I've worked with a lot of coaches, and not a lot of them do this. I've only probably worked with one that asked me what my Enneagram was. And I really, really was like, oh, thank you for asking me that, because it shows how much you care about how you teach me, and you're caring about how you are customizing your approach towards me, right? And it's something that is it needs to be something that's, I don't know, more normal, I guess, no, more normalized as like a standard for coaching.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, it requires more work, but you're bringing in more value. And also, if you don't know it, there's so many resources that you can like use to do the work. Spend time investing in your knowledge so that you can be a better coach.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also the fact that you brought up ADHD. I remember one of my coaches, well, I was saying how, like, oh, I don't know why I can't follow this. I don't know if I'm diagnosed with ADHD. I'm kind of like self diagnosing myself, but based on the symptoms, right? But I get distracted very easily, and I know that. And so, but she's not like that. And she couldn't understand me at all when I mentioned that. She's like, "Oh no, it's not really an ADHD thing. But how would you know if you don't have ADHD, right?" So that's the thing.
Yeah, where did
So
that
very
happen? That's an
interesting.
ignorant comment.
Yeah,
Okay, you're
I know.
you're a doctor now, or you're like, it doesn't make any sense, and that's invalidating for you, right? So yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so that's it. Like it's, that's one thing that I really want people to know is like when you're coaching someone, in order to bring value to your client, it's always good to get to know your client and really not just do any cookie cutter approach like you mentioned. Like you have to customize your approach in some way to be able to deliver the information right and for them to be able to process the information in the right way too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, also about how you worked with a male coach as well. I know males have more masculine energy, so that also ties into the way that they coach.
Yes, I learned that lesson the hard way. Nothing, well, I guess there is something slightly against males as the masculine energy. I think that there are males out there who are not don't give the
Yeah.
huge masculine energy. I can say that. And the reason why I went with the male coach is because I have a very strong personality, if you haven't noticed. As a Brooklyn girl, I come off strong. And I was like, well, I don't know if I can do a female coach because they're gonna be a little more fluffier and I might just tell me what it is, right? But that was my mistake because there are coaches out there. I've met some fabulous female coaches. They're just straight shooters, right? And it just comes down to just doing some shopping and figuring out the right person. So you don't have to deviate from you don't have to like avoid a female coach because you feel like you have a strong personality. But you also don't have to avoid male coaches all around because they give off masculine energy because there are some very nice male coaches. Now, personally, I wouldn't go back to a male coach because I had a bad experience with it. But I do know male coaches and I do refer people to them, right? So it's and also in the coaching industry, like coaches come in all different shapes, sizes, personalities, right? So I've made it my business to get to know a lot of different coaches because I do talk a lot of junk about them. And not well, just the coaching industry,
Hmm.
but I do know that there are some very good, valuable coaches. And because I know they come in all different shapes, sizes, expertise, I've made it my business to connect with as many as possible so that if I get a client and I'm like, look, you need a coach, you can go to this person, they can help you with that, right? I can't help you. Go to the coach and then come to me and then we'll strategize or whatever, right? So, um, all that to say, shop around. If you're a male, if you want a male coach, they're out there. If you're a female and you want a male coach, just make sure they understand the season of life that you're in.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I honestly like at the end of the day, you have to have a balance of both masculine and feminine energy. And it's always good to have the experience with male coaches and then female coaches and then see what jives with you, what works for you, and then go stick with that and kind of like experiment, right? So yeah, I love the way that we're putting into perspective the different ways in which people coach and the different energies around it.
Yes, it's also
So
cultural energy as well. You have to keep
yes,
in mind the
yes.
culture because what's appropriate for us may not be appropriate for a different culture. And you may think that they're being rude and they're not because it's just what they know, right? So when you shop around, look at personalities, culture, vibes, all that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's so many different factors to it.
Mhm.
So just do your due diligence at the end of the day and based on the content that people are putting out and based on the energy, based on the calls that you have with them, these initial calls, like just try to do as much research as you can before hiring a specific coach.
Mhm. Mhm.
What do you feel has been the most important in allowing you to trust your own way of doing things?
I think the fact that I've failed and trying to do it other ways and what everyone else said was a big factor in that. And I would say the biggest mindset shift for me would be, again, realizing that just because something works for others, it doesn't mean that it's meant for me. And I think I had to internalize that idea that success isn't about following a trend. It's actually about building a business that supports the life that I actually want. A question that I had to stop asking myself was, is this what I'm supposed to do? And I started asking, does this feel sustainable and aligned for me? And once I started asking that question, and I asked it often, it really took me out of the comparison mode and it brought me back to my own values and the vision and what I actually want. And another shift for me was, I think, letting go of the fear that doing it my way would take longer. Because there's so much pressure to grow fast and like hit the big numbers and have it all figured out like yesterday. But I think I've learned that sustainable growth for me doesn't leave me feeling burnt out and resentful. And I want to scale my business, not necessarily grow it. And the difference between scaling and growing, like growth, you just hitting numbers, but you're not balancing it out with the life that you want and your capacity. And that was a big shift for me. So I'm very mindful of my measurement of success, which is pretty much how I feel in my business and not necessarily what all the numbers say. Like, I'm not like, I need 100 clients or I need $100 million or even seven figures, right? It's more based on what feels right for me in the season of life that I'm in.
Yeah, no, it's about doing it your own way and seeing how that life fits with how you want to build it. And I love that you mentioned the difference and kind of tapped into that because like a lot of the like even for me, I'm like, oh, scaling and growing is the same thing. I didn't realize there was much of a difference between the two.
Yeah.
So diving into that a little bit more, it's like, okay, scaling is something that you can't do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what I'm getting from it, where I'm kind of in that phase now too, where I know I can't take on everything by myself. If I want to really scale this business in a way where I can serve more people, but also be intentional with my time and take back my time to spend with family, my boyfriend, my friends, then I need to be able to grow my business in a way where I have team members to help support me in carrying out this vision to help people. And I guess that's kind of what you do as well, right? Like this is how you help your clients.
Yeah, yeah. I help my clients scale their business in a way that's sustainable. And with my approach, I would say that manifesting generators and we don't vibe very well because they're like big dreamers. They're going to manifest it in their mind. And me, I'm like, well, no, let's look at your capacity. Let's look at your return on investment, your numbers, your analytics, and all that. And let's make the scale be balanced, right? And you can't scale your business sustainably by yourself. You have to come to terms with it. You have to be able to budget to have a team to help you because realistically speaking, no one can do everything in the business, not one person. If you look at the corporate model, you've got the CEO, which is usually, now that I look back, I'm like, man, they're genius. But back then when I was their assistant, I was like, man, you're an idiot. Like, what do you mean you can't send the email? What do you mean? Right. But now I'm like, they're genius. They stayed. Like they're the CEO. They're going out, they're meeting, they're doing all that stuff. Right. And then you have the admin assistant, executive assistant, whatever project manager's work is and all that stuff. And that is a similar model that we need to have even in a small business. Sure, surely most of us, a lot of us are not like we're not gonna grow a 100 employee corporation, but you can work as a CEO, have the marketing manager, and have the marketing manager be in charge of the social media manager. And you're out there growing your business, right? And then when it comes to operations, a lot of people who start a business don't know how to do operations, and that's absolutely okay because especially if you're creative, your art, your zone of genius is creating. So I don't expect you to know operations. I don't expect you to be thinking, oh, what's my ROI? Or even know what ROI is, right? That's okay. That's where people like me, I'm like, oh, I'm an operations manager. I got you. And operations managers can hire people because that's another thing. People don't know how to hire. And some people get embarrassed by it. And you don't have to be embarrassed because that is not your zone of genius. You're not designed to do all the things. That's where you outsource. You find your operations manager who can go and hire people. And I've had it in my situation where, as the operations manager, I hired an executive assistant knowing that my role will be replaced because you don't need me anymore. You have the executive assistant. So fly high, right? And that's how you scale sustainably. And a lot of, if you look, we're in 2025, and a lot of businesses started in 2020 or they grew substantially in 2020. And now we're seeing the aftermath because they grew, but they didn't hire or do anything to sustain the growth. And now there's a huge imbalance, and a lot of them are, right?
It's interesting to see how different people are growing and scaling their businesses. It really is a mindset shift at the end of the day. Yeah, you can't do it all alone. And I love that you have your strategist hat on and you have this team that you can help business owners scale their business. Like, tell me a little bit more about that side of your business, like about what it is as a whole that you do and how you're different from all the other types of businesses that do the same similar thing that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do I get started and how I'm different? So I'm different in a sense where a lot of people come to me because they say, oh, you're a VA agency. I need a VA. And
Mhm.
technically, the easier route for me would be like, okay, here's a VA, fly high. However, for me, this is where the business strategy comes in. I'm like, okay, let's pump the brakes. What is it that you need? And I do an operations review, an operations assessment, and I look at their operation as a whole. And through that, I'm also learning about their personality, who they are, what they need. After that assessment, then we determine if they actually need a VA. And there have been situations where they don't need a VA, they need a marketing director. And then I connect them with a marketing person. And then they figure that out. And then they come back and they're ready for a VA. Sometimes they need more one on one consulting in terms of finessing their packages or creating standard operating procedures. Because more often than not, people are like, I need a VA. Okay, you need a VA to do what? Oh, they need to answer my emails. Okay, what's your tone? Do you have templates? How are they responding to their emails? Oh, I don't know. They just need to respond. No, that's not the case. Let's get clear on what it is that you want, how you want to sound. What is your tone? What is your brand? And then we move on from there. So that's how I'm different. I'm not in it, and I say this often. I'm like, I'm not in this to take your money and get rich. I can easily just be like, here's a VA, they work for you, and I'm done. No, I'm here to help you grow. I'm here to see you fly, make big moves. So that's the structure. Everything starts with me. They come in, like I said, do the assessment, and then we assess the situation and give them the guidance from there. Also, with the VA side of things, it's different because they every 90 days we're reassessing. So it's not like, okay, here's your package, you have 20 hours, this is what you're getting. No. Like if we need to start in 20 hours, okay, we'll start that. But every 90 days I'm going back to the drawing board and I'm like, okay, let's take a look and see if they still need all these hours or they need more. And if they don't need more hours, I'm not gonna pocket it. I tell them like, hey, look, operations are stabilized. I think we should kind of downgrade your package because you're just throwing money down a drain. Let's invest that in something else. I'm also different in a sense where a lot of business owners have big dreams and aspirations. And through this assessment, this operations assessment, I'm also figuring out what their annual goal is. And I am constantly going back, like quarterly, I'm going back to this assessment. And I'm like, okay, what goals have we checked off? And then I actually meet with my clients. They get every 90 days a strategic meeting with me, and we're discussing, like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? How are we getting there? So that's pretty much what makes me different. There's strategy involved in everything. All of my VAs, and I make this very clear, we're not the types that are like, you say jump and we say how high. We ask questions. Oh, you want me to do this? Okay. How is this going to get us to our goal? And this is how we kind of help our clients stay in line with where they're actually going and prevent. I don't know if have you heard of shiny object syndrome?
Yes, I know very well what SOS is, and I have that.
Yeah.
Definitely have that big one.
So that's how I prevent that. And I have my VAs like, okay, you want this program? Okay, why? How is this going to help us? And we let them make the decision at the end of the day. And I'm always, this is what I say when I have my clients and they're just like, I want this. And I give them advice and they don't take it. I'm like, look, I'm not going to come around and say, I told you so. But if you do this, I will support you. But I'm not taking the fall for this because I advise you not to. And then we just go with the flow.
I love that. See,
I know that was the short term. Now I know. That's so funny.
Yeah, I always say that.
It's so fitting. It's so fitting.
I tell everyone, I always get SOS. I have the biggest SOS that you can imagine. So, I mean, it's better now, but yeah, it's really fun. I guess it's a term now.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's so funny. Yeah, but I love that. I love that you shared how you approach things, and that's what makes you unique in your own way. And I love that you're holding your clients and you're telling people straight up as well, your clients, when things shouldn't be done this way, or like, at the end of the day, it's up to them, but at least you're giving your opinion, your honest opinion as the expert who knows how to grow and scale a business.
Thanks for that.
All right, so I loved how we tackled different topics today, about the cookie cutter approach, and then, how you're different in some ways, and then how all different coaches are different in their own ways and how they coach. And it's a really great perspective to have and share with the audience as they are all building their coaching businesses. So it's always cool, like knowing how to scale your business eventually when you get to that point, and who you need to hire, maybe you. So
yeah, maybe.
So I would love to kind of just end this episode with one last question for the listeners. So let's say if there's a listener here today who's listening, who is ready to break the mold today of that whole, cookie cutter approach and whatnot, and trying to just do things their own way, what's one small first step that they should take to trust their intuition and just go for it?
Okay, that's a really good question, Fifa. I would say start by getting brutally honest with yourself. Ask yourself, what's one thing that I'm doing right now because I think I'm supposed to do, because this is what everyone else is doing, this is what the people in the big leagues are doing. So ask yourself, what am I doing that I'm supposed to do? And also elevate that question a bit. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it because it actually feels good and makes sense to your business? Or are you doing it because you think you're going to get to where you need to get there faster? Or because this fancy coach told you to do? And then after that, I want you to give yourself permission to stop doing that one thing. Just one. You don't have to burn it all down or rewrite your entire business model. But I think that taking the time to do that first small step proves to yourself that you can do things differently and the sky and the business won't fall down. Yeah, I think sometimes the most powerful moves start by simply just saying like, look, this isn't for me anymore, and being absolutely okay with that, and trust yourself and trust your intuition and trust that the freedom that you actually want is going to come from that one decision.
Very wise words. I do agree, though. I agree wholeheartedly with what you said. And sometimes you already know that it doesn't feel right. And you feel it. It's an unexplainable feeling, but you just know that this is not something that you should continue to do. Or so just like putting yourself outside of that context in some way and just trying something else and seeing how, kind of like experimenting, right? Seeing is maybe the other way that you decide to break away from it, and that other alternative might be better, but let's just try it and see how it goes, right? So
Yeah. And so what if no one else is doing it? Like, someone's got to start doing it.
exactly. All right. Awesome. Okay. So I know, like, you mentioned a bit about, what you do, how you help others, but do you have anything specific, exciting that you'd love people to know about, and something that's coming up that you're working on right now?
Yeah, I've got lots that I'm working on, but I want to offer your audience a freebie. And I
Absolutely.
created this
Yes.
freebie based on the current state of the economy, and it's such a fear-driven economy, I would say, with all the things happening. So I created this guide called How to Recession-Proof Your Business. And through that, I guide you through practical steps to make sure you're growing your business sustainable. They're pretty much steps that I use constantly with my clients, and I just put it together in this guide to give people some peace. There's some peace in the midst of the chaos that we are all facing.
We all need that.
Yes, yes, we do.
Yeah. So very, very valuable freebie. Make sure to click the link in the bio in the show notes, and you're going to get access to the freebie. But thank you so much for your wisdom today. All the gold nuggets that you shared, the insights, like, thank you for reminding us that we don't need permission to build a business that's honest, more aligned with us, and completely our. And yeah, I really appreciate you. How can people find you?
Thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me here and asking that question. So you can find me on LinkedIn, as we're the most active, and you can see the link in the show notes. I'm also on Instagram at admin virtuosa. That's my handle. You also see it in the show notes. And you can also just email me at louisa at adminvirtuosa.com, and I'd be happy to connect with you over coffee chat, answer any questions that you may have.
Awesome. Yes, make sure to follow her, grab her freebie. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. If you enjoyed this episode, like, we'd love for you to give us a rating or just send us a voice note or leave a review if this resonated with you. Until next time, we're eager to hear your feedback. Reach out to us, and thank you for being here today.